Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's a chess show on Pod TV. My name is Sasha Star, and we have today a wonderful panel, of course, starting with Professor Ken Regan. Welcome to the show, Ken.
Thank you very much for having me on again. Welcome to my home.
Always great to have you, Ken.
It was
And
great seeing you last weekend. Yeah.
yeah, we had fantastic weekend. Finally getting to this French restaurant. It took I don't know hour and a half driving, although it should have been done in 10 minutes, maybe 15. But there's also
Yeah.
construction and directions problems. Anyway, we made it, and now I would like to bring Jim Eid from Eid Foundation. Welcome, Jim,
Hi, Sasha. Great to be here.
and Dan Fleetwood. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Mhm.
Hi, everyone. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Great to have you. And of course, the games that was so fascinating. And
Right.
I've seen the comments on that game as a review. And actually, Grishchuk, for example, he did half comments about what he understood what happened in the game. Um, Vidit Nepomniachtchi. And then he spent another half an hour analyzing that game with computer. And it was very interesting to see what's the difference between, for him, makes the analysis just on his own, and then another one with computer. And by the way, he was not alone in the department, although his comments were quite interesting. It was in Russian and very enjoyable. And another one was also in Russian, by the way, by Shirov. Sorry, not Shirov, Shipov. Shipov.
Mhm.
It's different, but also he was commenting on all this game while it was played, and then he yet did analysis. But it was in Moscow; it was too very late. He was very tired, and yet he explained what he saw happened, and then he showed computer analysis. What's his opinion? And but we will go into that. Why don't we start, Ken, with you and what you've seen? That would be very
Yes. So let me actually mention one thing apart from the play first, which is that I, of course, have something called intrinsic performance ratings, um, which are measurements of the skill of the players according to the quality of the moves rather than the results of the games. So this has been a component of my work. It's not expressly a cheating test of itself. Well, after 10 rounds, I had a remarkable result. So what I'm showing now is uh, is the web page for a graduate seminar that I'm running, and
We're
I
not
have these
seeing it
notes about. I've just posted
yet. Oh,
notes about. Is it? Are you seeing it now?
Yep.
Yeah. So I just posted notes about how my intrinsic performance ratings work and what do their error bars represent. And we wanted to represent a confidence interval about the strength of the player. Okay. But in actual fact, for various technical reasons, it's really just a confidence in the measurement. And because it's confidence in the measurement, this should not be used as a z-score in judging unlikelihood. So if a player who's rated 2100 plays 3000 level, you might not believe it. You might think it's a z-score of 4.5 if the error bars are 200 elo, but it's really just the error bars are confidence in the measurement. However, there are ways to try to change them to be about searches directly about the player's move, and I have some students applying the Efron bootstrap. Be it as it may, there are reasons to believe that in the end, when you have a large enough sample of moves, my measurement error bars will work for that as well. And the candidates tournament, if I lump all the players together, is a large enough set of moves with diverse players. So here's the remarkable fact. I build my model with four different engines. So using four different engines as the arbiter of quality. And there are also two modes to run my model. This is supposedly the smart cheating mode, but it has its own issues. So the remarkable thing is that although the women are averaging a rating 2517 to the men's 2745, that's 228 points lower. And when I adjust Vaishali's rating and a couple of others, then it's still 200 points lower. Still, the women were within 40 points of the men after round 10 in overall quality, and just within the error bars that I reckon. And in the individual measurements with individual engines, there was one reading where the women came out ahead. Not significantly because of the error bars. So I believe, and I've stated, and I have other students in my seminar, the same students in my seminar working on this too, that the established women players are at least 75 points underrated. And it's
Ken, I think that's been a historical issue with women's ratings, and I think that this is just more evidence.
FIDE added 100 points to every woman besides Susan Polgar. Every woman not named Polgar.
Which was a controversy
in itself. And I'm actually going to seriously propose that FIDE do it again. And maybe I can get Susan to have a sense of humor and say that once again, it should be every woman not named Polgar. But yeah, no, this is conforming to things that I've told people, including Sabrina de San Vicente, before the tournament. So now it did slip. So after round 11, the men are averaging 26.89, and the women went down 30 to 26.23, and that is outside the aggregated error bars. But still, the women are overperforming by about 100 ELO, 80 to 100 ELO over their average rating, whether reckoned officially or reckoned by my adjustments. So with that in mind, I hope you will indulge me before we get to the headlining men's games to go over one game.
I have one question, Ken. I have one question before you get into the games. I wonder if this apply the 100 rating point differential that you're suggesting the women are performing at 100 points. Do you think that's the highest rated women, or do you think that is women in general? Or I wasn't clear.
I think so part of this is we want to measure a well-defined select set of players. So there are about 20 plus players who have played each other in the Women's Grand Prix series, and I think 4 or maybe 5 of them are playing in the candidates. So they're players born before 2000, so they're not involved in the issue of lag from the pandemic. These were players who were established before the pandemic. Okay. And so that's the data set I have my students going on. And yes, I believe they're 75 points underrated. The other way to say it is, if you look at the top women at FIDE, Hao Yifan is down at 26.23. Now we know she's really a high 2600s player. The second highest, the world champion, is at 25.59 only. Okay, and it goes below 2500 fairly quickly. So we feel that can't be right. Certainly in my measurements of the Women's Grand Prix tournaments, that's not right either. So anyway, but I'm setting in my seminar the rigorous, do it rigorously with statistical confidence, and that's where issues in those notes come to the fore. So basically, yes, I believe that the non-young women players, the Muzi Chuks, Lei, Wenjun, Tan, Goryachkina even, that they are underrated by about 75 points. And see, with the men and with the deflation at large, the magnitude seems to me to be 30 to 50 points. And 30 points is on the edge of general rating uncertainty, so it's harder to separate. But because the women have been relatively insular, maybe and whatever reason derives from that, it's easier to tell significance.
Well, I think it's just well known that if you compete within a more highly rated cohort, your rating tends to follow the cohort than if you compete in a lower cohort.
Right, so. That's right. So I think these women are playing fewer open tournaments. The
Right.
thing is, though, is the source of the deflation is playing young kids whose ratings lag their true strength by 500 points or so. Um, so I don't know how the women have done that. It's the one thing I can't trace. But
Okay, very practical question.
Mhm.
If, let's say I drew Grandmaster Alexandra Kostyniuk in the
Yeah.
tournament, and if she will get extra 100 points, would that make me eligible also to get extra 100 points?
Might make Nava eligible to get the extra 100 points if she's played a lot. That's the thing. I can only tell the effect among people who have played a lot. Let's see. I'm looking to see if I have the list of players whom I have the students specifically looking at. They're the players who have played in 2 or more of the Women's Grand Prix.
Sasha, my main worry is that they're going to take 100 Elite points from me.
Well, you might have lost it anyway. Anyway. Oops, sorry. This is sorry. Here's where I am. So anyway, so let's see one of these established female players, Zhang Yitan, against Katarina Lagno. Okay, so certainly,
You can donate your 100 points, sell it to somebody. Okay.
yeah. Coming into this round, Lagno and Goryechkina were both on +1. So they both had chances to strike back at the Chinese. So Lagno would have caught Tan with a win in this game. Instead, by losing, she fell 2 points behind. Well, she had the black pieces. And so this is, fairly standard play. I don't know what opening one would characterize this as. So the one worry for white is lacking in development of the weakness of the D3 square. But if you know these lines, you can untangle your pieces, and black
So
can't.
Ken, it's been my impression that a lot of the play in each session resembles the old days when people were doing anti-computer preparation, trying to avoid prepared lines. And so I think now, because so many people are prepping with Stockfish 16 or so, that people are playing the same kinds of things in this event in a lot of cases that people would play formally in, like human versus computer matches. Is that also your observation?
That I hadn't thought of that, but I'll certainly agree with it. Yes, certainly when you see Firouzja play B3 on move 2, one must ascribe some motivation of that kind. But this, however, though, I'm sure this is a known theoretical position. The only difference in the position is the placement of the king's bishops. And it comes down to whether white can annoy black's bishop on c5, which, because white played e3, does not have a whole lot of threatening power. Right. So as it stands, black, if white could very quickly play a3 and b4, black would be in a heap of trouble. But white plays knight g5 instead, trying to take over space in the center. And
wouldn't have been my choice, but that's interesting.
Yes, right. And now it's possible that black makes a real error here, and it's a little bit hard to fathom here, because white has the very simple combination of knight takes e5, knight takes e5, and bishop takes b5, and black's queen is overloaded. And I don't know where black is getting compensation from. If black would have wound up with a light squared bishop, then maybe this would be sufficient.
Sure, but yeah,
compensation. But with the dark squared bishop, that's not very useful.
Yep.
I don't know. I think white's just up a pawn. So a little quizzical.
Ken, excuse me, there might be something. One detail is quite interesting. If knight e5, bishop b7, queen b7, and you take on e5, then black would have knight g4 move. And what would
knight g4? Whoops! No, it's just
drops the knight.
Oh, you dropped the knight. Oh my god!
Yeah.
I thought that there would be some play on e3 knight e3.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, that
Yeah,
could be.
but it's impossible. So
Well, you probably play rook ad1 first, and then
Yeah,
if white
sure.
goes queen c2,
yeah, to deflect.
you could
Yes.
play
Yeah, then
knight
you
g4.
might try
and-
knight
then-
d5, but you're busted.
In fact, here, wait a second. This is
Queen f3.
queen c2 actually, and now for some
Yeah.
reason black is -4
Oh,
because
Yes.
stuff is
Yeah,
getting taken on f6. Yes,
Not
okay.
every play,
So
knight
this,
d4 either way.
so this is a sort of, excuse me, I'll let you
Oh.
carry out your plan of moving the knight to e4. So black got a
Great.
free move in. Okay, so we play chess, and white still has a nagging little edge. How are we going to win back our knight? We're going to do it that way. Okay. Okay, no more white edge. But Zhang Yitan still presses and still has the control of the dark square that you expect when you fianchetto b3. And now from this point on, actually after queen e6, the computer thinks that black has an edge, and indeed white's knight c4 is the only move to keep white from getting into trouble by being muscled out of the center. So sometimes you don't want to occupy a square like e5, you want to control it. This looks like a pawn sacrifice, but what would happen is after the take on c4, white could take on d8, and then bishop takes g7,
right.
and ultimately black's rook on d8 hangs.
Sting at
So-
the end of the scorpion's tail there. Yeah.
Yeah, nice little bit of chess vision. So okay, so black regroups the bishop, finally going to a good square opposing the diagonal. But white does play. Black's rook on f8 is not so great, and slowly but surely, except for this move,
Whoops.
Zhang Yitang infiltrates black's position. Now I'm sure you can play chess and play this move and never realize that black could have done a breakout. But in fact, black does have a jailbreak in this position with f4.
Wow.
And the point being that after e takes f4, you have
E3.
e3.
Oh,
And
boy,
then
yeah.
suddenly black's bishop on d5 is doing stuff. And if white captures here, then very quiet move. You just put the bishop
Yeah.
where it can't be molested. Now the d file is open and queen h3 is coming. So this
Wow.
must be considered very difficult to see, though. The fact that you have this quiet move, bishop e4. Okay, or you could play queen h3 right away too, I guess. That
Once you show it to me, it's easy to see.
yes, if you show it to you, it's easy to see. But that was Lagno's one chance in the game. Lagno played her
We all
plan,
can think of players who would have
piling up on e5, and that missed the chance. So now Zhang Yitan just says, I don't care about e5. So we need to take a look now and see why isn't this winning a piece. Okay, well, the answer is I can pile on your bishop more than you can defend it.
Yep.
And white will be a pawn ahead with the initiative. So that evidently is something that Lagno missed.
Yeah.
And from this point on, she tried to win back the pawn, but this just concedes too many squares to white. Okay, and now white has all the squares on the queen side. Black is desperately trying to put something together. I guess there was a reason the bishop couldn't even come back home to d5. And from here on, 10 was merciless. Another pawn drops off. Now, this is a nice move.
Yeah.
So if the bishop captures the pawn, the rook hangs. So anyway, same thing. Now the rook really hangs, and now this is a really cute move. I'm preventing black from playing queen takes f2 check, and black's bishop on f5 is magically trapped in the center of the board. The only place it could go is there, but now it's essentially trapped again, and now the bishop is still trapped in the sense of needing to be defended, and there's nothing black can do about white's knight coming in.
It's so amusing to me. Not amusing, I guess it's the wrong word, but the queen and knight are so powerful together versus queen and bishop. It's just over and over you see it.
Yeah, and white's king applies the fatal blow,
Yeah.
and checkmate is coming. So, a really nice game.
Yeah.
By white. I mean, obviously there were chances for both players, but
Well,
so-
F4 would have been a very difficult move. You know, we all know players that would have found it, but most of us would not have.
right.
Yeah, usually that's one of those moves that I say is easier to calculate than to see.
Yeah. I will say though that
Great. I like
on
that.
Sunday in Hikaru's Harem Scarum game against Abasov, I am amazed that Hikaru did not find G5 in a position where it was strong.
Yeah.
Similar disrupting pawn break.
Yeah. Because he's
Yeah.
one of those guys who tends to find those kinds of moves.
Well, especially since that's probably the first thing that he looked at it. So I suspect he had a hallucination.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting, Dan.
Well, so anyway,
The best of us.
now coming to the star game of yesterday's round in the men's section.
This
And-
game was insane.
And Nepo, another Petrov. And this is the first time when Nepo did not get into trouble with the Petrov. And it's partly because Vidit played a line that's usually considered to be pretty innocuous with the queens coming off. And there are, wide choice by black. It's not clear you want to put the bishop on G4 in a position like this. But anyway, okay. So
Was an
queens come off.
F5, in my opinion. But
So the only little defect of bishop G4 is white softens up the pawn structure a little. Oh, this is basically an even position.
what's the reputation now of the Petrov? Because, when I was really involved, it was really pretty solid.
Yeah.
Petrov is a forced draw in correspondence chess from move 2.
Oh,
There's
That's
literally no way for white to get an advantage.
mhm.
So that's why it's so popular among folks who like to do the computer book up.
Okay. That's interesting. Yes, and I
Yeah, in
wonder.
practical terms, that was the case. It was so solid. People were avoiding it.
And I wonder if the Berlin had not emerged as a viable play for black, whether the Petrov would have taken over as the main opening
Very excellent point.
defense to E4. Okay, so we played chess for a while, and it's really interesting to see what kind of strategies the player is going to have. The
All right.
one dominant motif in this position is whether black can take over control of the A file, because white's A pawn is weak, and white is going to be tempted either to sacrifice it with A5, or black can engineer a trade where black will fix it and win it. And then either way, black will have a passed A pawn. And on the other hand, white is able to do more in the center on the king side. So can white compensate? So, this is chess. Right now, white is actually trying to open up space on the queen side. But it's hard to tell. The white is amazingly playing without moving either bishop. So here we come, the first bishop move. But anyway, the knight on E3 prevents any issues on the E file. Okay, so is black losing a piece here? Let's take a look. Well, because black can counterattack against white's bishop.
I was wondering why black didn't take on D4.
Let's see. Well, let's see. Yeah, you're right. If you take on D4, in fact, the engine says that black has the edge here, regardless. Let's see. So you take on D4, take now. Well, white's playing bishop E4, and that's going to be annoying. So I assume that it is the best move, though. So, it was the best move, is the best move. Bishop here, now D5. I don't know. I'd be very afraid of this if I were white, because
I don't know.
black is,
I don't know what to say.
what is going on here? Black is blasting open some lines, but actually the knight on e3 is still a rock. And
Yeah.
I don't know. The engine says initiative to black. I would probably stick my bishop on. Oh no.
I don't know. It's really easy to reject that move just because you don't want to undouble white's pawns,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
never really get to this kind of cool line here.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So,
now
so anyway,
I agree
so-
with that.
so black played knight c6, and this obvious move. Okay, now if you take on c3, I think you eventually run into a problem that in some position white is going to have rook b3 skewering things. So I won't go into that. So black plays knight e5, and white, however, though, in a very strange way, is able to carry out one of his strategic goals of getting pressure on the king side.
Yeah.
And by virtue of black having one fewer pawn over there. So now black has won a pawn. But no, it hasn't won a pawn. So will win a pawn. But
white's pawn structure is horrible. So
yeah, white's pawns are horrible.
what can he do on the king side that's going to compensate for that?
Yeah, well, advance the pawns. Here they come. So g6 and now g5. Okay, so now now white decides to sacrifice a pawn on the other side.
Yeah.
Oops, I'm sorry, I did not mean to do that. What did I
That's
just
okay.
Oops. There we
We'll
go.
ignore that.
I have to go back. Here we go. A5. Okay.
So did he have to do that?
Did he have to do that? Let's see.
I understand why he did it, because it looks like maybe you can get the rook activated and stuff. But what it's hard. So h5, I guess, was the other.
Yeah, h5
but
is
the other
H5
possibility.
looks
Okay.
premature
Yeah,
to
so
me.
that is a move.
Yeah, I mean, the engine says it's fine combined with f4. So f4 and h5.
right.
I don't know.
Okay.
It feels premature to me. Like black can
Well,
get both rooks to the
I mean,
h5.
h5 actually looks good to me. I was just
Wait a
That
second.
was the first move I thought of as well. So
What
A5,
happened in
yeah.
the game after a5, ba, rook took to b7 and was exchanged for a rook on this after rook g7.
Yep.
Okay, and still black retains both a pawns. So why instead of a5, white wouldn't play rook a1, preparing a5?
Mm.
What's wrong with
Well,
that?
I guess you were, well, let's see. So if you play rook a1 here, so you're saying rook a1 in
Yeah,
this position.
Rook a1.
Well, I worry about black being able to fix me now. Even just going knight c6. Let's see. So, oh no, this
Wow.
means you're not defending against.
all these kind of hidden things in this position.
Yeah. Right. So for some reason, do you know what? The rook on a1 is in the line.
Oh,
of
yeah,
my
yeah.
bishop, and I bet that has
Okay,
made
I can see the
that is
problems with the rook a1.
amplified the strength of
But after
b5.
a5, you just give extra pawn with black
Yeah.
without any.
Let's say we play a
Maybe-
non-move like this. Now d5 is strong for black, but it's not 1.77 winning. Okay, so the rook on a1 really has a structural disadvantage to it.
Yes, agree.
So anyway, so a5. I mean, parts of this game were played at a very high level, in my estimation. So now, this is an achievement for white. We've gotten the bishop off the big diagonal, but achievement for black. Black now has a pawn plus, although a little ragged pawn plus. So
yeah.
we begin new phase of the game. White optimizes the knight, and now is softening black up. Black comes in. Okay, we soften black up. Now we stick the bishop there. Okay, the bishop's not very good there, but where is it going to go? And white gets this nice check. Now white's king is threatening to come in.
Okay, that's the only thing I see in white's position that makes me pause and saying outright that black is better.
Yeah.
The king position.
Well, somewhere through here, Niepo just loses his way.
Yeah, well,
So-
even here, the engine says that white is 0.62 ahead because of the king side. White does have the latent threat of h5 and coming in with the rook.
And also, G6 and some variations too.
So you can credit
There
white
are
with
things.
luring black's rook into b7. So black needs a diversion. And here now is where white should have been able to find a way to crack through. So black has to play king g7, which saves a tempo in crucial positions where things open up. Or it can play rook c2. This was the wrong way to hit c3, and now h5 would have been very strong.
This is
Yeah.
So
this wasn't the bad one though. This was like a missed opportunity. I guess the bad one's coming.
Yes, the bad one is coming, although there's a reason why you overlook the bad one.
Yeah.
So apparently, actually, this isn't so bad. Sometimes the chess engines have hash collision errors or change their minds. So this might be very difficult for white to compute. This is not as strong as it looks like when you're seeing 1.33 for h5.
Okay.
So that is a problem, by the way, of hash collision errors in chess engines. One reason I use multiple engines. So I'm sure this is a reproducible hash collision error. So anyway, okay. So this was not a bad move, and this was not a bad move by white. So ignore the chess.com annotations there. So anyway, a3, bishop c1. But now black plays what is known as being a bad plan. And it's a bad plan for reasons that are really hard to foresee. So this was Nepo's idea. Nepo's idea to uncover attacks on a3. Now, led us to see the whole point of Nepo's idea. If you take with the pawn, okay, then Shazam, okay, and now you lost the bishop. Okay, you resign. I mean, you could try a little bit of play inside, but okay. So all right, so we capture with the knight. Oh, wait, isn't it the same thing?
It is not.
Knight takes d5, c takes d5. Now you can play rook takes a3 first, or c4 check. It'll come out to the same thing. Might as well cut white's options down. Okay, and now black is up a clear piece.
Except.
Okay. Well, the problem is that this endgame is actually lost for black because white's pawns are more powerful. And in fact, white the engine has finally realized that this is a really cutthroat move.
Wow. Never, I would have played king b5 without.
For a moment, it thinks even, but it's going to see that this is actually winning for white because this pawn isn't going anywhere.
Right.
We've taken the pawn off of f2 where black could cause troubles with the e pawn. So this is now just completely winning for white, as well as.
Oh, this is beautiful. I think we can forgive Vidit for missing this one, though. I mean, that's just. I mean, if he would have found that would be brilliancy.
Yeah. Let's see, but now let's see. So we have to.
I would have given f3 a question mark.
Well, yeah, but f3. Yeah, let's see. Yes, we have to. You have to jag the. Okay, now it's starting to see thing. Yeah, hash collision errors are a real problem, but obviously you just need to calculate. So this is hard. This is hard to calculate, but the final kicker in this position is white is h5.
Yeah, sure.
And that is going to be the motif at the end of the game too.
Yep.
So it was a definite missed opportunity.
Interesting.
That Vidit should have fallen into the trap that could have won, but instead played this understandable move because it keeps the balance. It assures this nice square for the knight, and black's pieces are bottled up for the moment.
This is a very. I'm hesitating to say instructive game because I'm not sure I understand it.
Yeah. Oh, it's a very weird game. I mean, black's pawns look like backgammon. Okay.
Yeah.
now here is just past the time control where Vidit could have repeated moves. Okay. And Nepo probably would have acquiesced because white has a slight edge overall. But white has a slight edge overall, so Vidit tried this. I don't know what it's thinking of moves of h5. And we play on.
Oops. Yep.
And we play on, and the knight goes back to e4.
Ah,
Bishop d2, I thought was a little quizzical when it was played, but because it's taking that square away from the knight.
right.
And there comes black's pawn. But white's not getting into trouble here in any shape or form yet. It looks like black has achieved something. Now black's king is actively patrolling, but
Now
it
F3.
is able to say Katie bar the door, and and now black ceded the a pawn. It was going to be lost anyway. Black has now a hint of some play on the a file,
Oh yeah.
and is able
Ooh.
to get a very active king. So white has to
Whoa.
respect. Okay, now here's the crucial part of the game. So now, so black played knight takes c3 check. Now, what I have not listened to the analysis, and you've heard the analysis in Russia, and I haven't. So obviously, what white
Rook
would
C3.
normally expect to have done would have been to capture this knight
Yeah.
Sure.
and then play this. Okay, and now you have to play bishop e5 pretty much.
Right.
Now I wonder if white was originally expecting to be able to do this jailbreak.
Mm,
Okay.
Yeah, which doesn't
The
work.
problem is
doesn't work.
I can
Right.
just take the bishop.
Right.
So therefore, since jailbreak and forced draw isn't happening, white has to worry about whether this position might be losing in the long
Yeah,
run.
so it is losing if he plays things like bishop g7. That was something that I checked last night. And so the bishop does have to come down on the a1 side of the diagonal.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, because the bishop might get in the way there.
Yeah, and this HG pawns might fall.
Right.
So yeah, so it's very, very tricky position. But with Vidit only having 1 minute left on the clock, I thought still for sure he would go into this ending rather than play.
Yeah.
Now it turns out the engine thinks that white can survive by going king a5. Well, maybe not actually. Now it's
Yeah, I don't see that. Yeah.
advantage for black. You know, that can't always rely on the engines here. Anyway, white played king a3, and now I was sure that it was going to lose because you just don't have enough time for this, for the complications. Nepo found the strongest move. You know, optically is the strongest move, and it turns out that white's only way to survive this position is to play knight e5 check, king d2, and then rook g1. And the reason for rook g1 is that in a crucial line, the rook defends the bishop after rook b3 check. And I still think objectively black is winning this position. But then
Certainly scary looking.
It could have been a draw. So
yeah, I don't know. Maybe I mean, you know, at some point you don't know what was going through his mind, but I mean, black only has one winning response after knight b2 check, but unfortunately, it's the obvious move. So
yes, yes, it is. In fact, that's right. The other moves actually lose, and maybe that's that they lose the knights.
Force me to play a good move. Yes.
Yes. So obviously,
exactly.
You have to do
It's
that.
like, well, darn.
And now it's just completely over because knights on b2 are through, so some accurate play by Nepo. Now no more checks, and Vidit resigned.
Yep.
So,
Wow, that's unfair.
Yeah.
From a game where the queens come off early and there was an awful lot going on in that game.
That's
I
for
think
sure.
that game provides an answer why Petrov is better for black than Berlin, because in Berlin, black has double pawns and has to rely on two bishops and fight all the way to survive. And here white had double pawn,
Well,
and
it's all pawn structure. Yeah.
this pawn structure on the queen side, that's a key to understand this game.
This is this has been my thinking all along.
Well, I mean, white's not forced to play the knight c4 line, which is somewhat suspect.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, if
True.
white's happy with like an
That's
equal
true.
position, there are a lot of ways to get an equal position.
And I
That's
actually
very
like
correct.
bishop
That's
g4 move in the opening, where it forced white to come up with some maybe 2-3 available moves. f3, which is not very good. Queen takes
I mean,
e7.
if you want to, if you want to have doubled pawns as white, the right way to do that is to play the 5 knight c3 line, and then you've got the d pawn over there instead of the b pawn over there.
Correct.
So,
Yeah, I agree.
Mm.
And
but
that's
that
far less
line
room.
has so much theory now that I'm sure
Right.
that it was just trying to play something original, and
Yeah.
he did get an interesting position. So
Right.
Anything could have happened in that game.
yeah, Ken, you were starting to show the Nakamura game with
Yeah, I was going to show
Prague,
one,
which was a
one moment.
fascinating opening.
You know, so this is the sort of opening where you think, well, isn't Black's third move refuted? It's an obvious beginner mistake. Isn't this? don't Walter Korn and Hans Kmach cover?
Yeah.
I know it's
From our
just
childhood.
horrifying to see that some of these moves are actually playable.
Yeah.
MCO13 says no.
Yeah. So it turns out this is actually okay for Black. It's boring and symmetrical, but it's kind of remarkable how Black Hikaru takes over the center. Now white does have an edge according to Stockfish, but it's going to evaporate real quickly.
Wow.
So it's hard to tell where white went wrong, but already it is Black who is more forward strategic thinking. There was one moment when I thought that Hikaru got into a little bit of a jam. It's after some exchanges.
This was really interesting. Okay.
So it was about here. It was right here that I thought maybe Black's position is a little bit too fixed, and white can play on the dark squares. But on the other hand, Black still has the better king, and white can't use d1. So actually, it was here that I thought, hey, this is too much of a dark square complex issue for Black. But what's really funny is how Hikaru tempts white to activate the position. Now, white, I think, should just stand and make it. Does white get in trouble? Well, what's down half a pawn, according to this. And the engine does like what white does. But
So
just watch the transformation in the next three moves.
So all of Black's pawns are on white squares, and yet the bishop is strong.
The bishop is strong. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's paralyzing white's queen side and taking d1 away from the rooks. So it's very well placed.
Yep.
Paradoxically, because of the white pawn, all the pawns on the white squares.
Well, the key thing is the pawns aren't locked.
Mm-hmm. So I was worried about this. So the interesting thing here is that white's correct move is to go backwards with the king. Although you worry that it could be mated on e1 with Black's bishop and rook there. So it turns out this is a pseudo-active move.
Huh.
And now white can't easily capture on e4 where white does, but this gets into trouble after c5. Amazing move.
Yeah.
Now white's king is in front of the rooks. Black's rooks are barreling down, and after these moves already, white's pieces.
Keep coming, king. Yeah.
Yes, if white plays knight f2, Black goes rook e6 check, and white's king can't retreat. So saying that doesn't change anything. So Prague had to put the knight into the lion's mouth, and Hikaru came and ate it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is not what you want to do against Nakamura.
Yeah. So some nice active play, and now
Gosh.
C3 is
goody.
He just said, "Oh, I'm winning."
Yeah. So anyway, so that was the disposition of our leaders, and
Well-
and I guess I should end there. I actually just want to show one more thing from Sunday. So go back one round to this game here, where a great little end game point. Black played f5. Okay.
Oh, yeah, I
You have
remember.
to calculate. So obviously you say, oh, knight takes e5 because if black captures my pawn, I can stop it. And black had this amazing tempo move hitting the knight.
Yeah.
And
How cute.
yeah, how cute. And then the point is that black now is able to capture
Right.
the king, and black's f pawn is too far away from white's
Too
knight.
far away.
Yep.
Makes
So,
all the
okay.
difference. Oh, very nicely calculated.
Yes.
Yeah, that's when
I'm
bishop is stronger than knight, because
Yeah,
bishop
I'm-
can easily stop it.
I'm really impressed with Lei's play here. She may not win in the end because Tan is also playing very well, but Lei is playing really good chess in this event.
Mhm.
High quality, yeah. Agreed. Totally.
I also want to mention Nakamura. You know, he's been. I don't know if he's been put on a back burner in terms of world championship caliber play, because we've been talking about Caruana for so long. But you know, he's got 2 losses, but he's got 4 wins.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really still a very, very dangerous player.
Mhm.
And only half
the
of-
difference. So the difference so far is that Nakamura is -2 against Vidit, and Nepo is +2.
That's it. Right.
So
Yeah, and I can't explain. You know, did he try to win too hard in the second game because he had lost the first game against Vidit? I don't know, but you know, it's one of the things that I think that you know, I just sense that because Nakamura hasn't played as much too. You know, he's been doing his streaming and making a untidy sum of money doing that. But geez, even after layoffs, he comes back and he's still a force to be reckoned with. And I just wanted to give him a shout out. Very impressive.
plus he's an old guy, right?
Yeah.
He's not an up and comer anymore. I remember him when he was little.
36 is ancient in chess years these days. So
That's when we used to be in our prime.
yeah,
35.
yeah.
You know?
I'd like to mention, though, that in last 2 rounds, Nepa is playing, guess what, with Caruana and Nakamura.
Right.
So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
everything will be decided right there.
Tough road, right?
It is.
Last 2 rounds, yeah. And we'll see what will be then. And then, so Sunday is the last round, and Monday is playoffs if needed.
If needed.
And well done by Nepo too. You know, he's had a very-
Nepa, in my opinion, Nepa learned a great deal from Magnus.
Yes.
Really,
Yeah.
his way to defend difficult positions, and so methodically and so precisely. And he is trying to, although he's defending, he's still trying to have position fairly complicated as to get his chances later on in the game. And that's precisely what's happened in his game. That we just analyzed with it. It's a fantastic. I don't understand why commentators are not picking up on that, because except Magnus, I don't think anybody so resilient and creative in defending difficult positions. Nepa, he definitely outdone everybody in that department. Although I think that his weakness probably is his opening preparation. He's relying on just one opening with black, and with white he is not getting any advantage either. So that's probably a little bit suspect. Although there are so many Russian players who are helping them, or so on.
Yeah, that would be the last thing you would think would be a weakness.
Yes, I thought that would be his strength, but
Yeah.
apparently not. So anyway, we're going to witness the exciting finish of this tournament. And thank you so much for today's program.
Right. Thank you. Too.
And,
Thank you, Sasha. Thank you,
thank
Ken,
you
for
so
the
much.
game. Good
Okay.
to see you
Sure.
again, Dan.
We'll see you next week, same place, same time. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Have a great day.
Bye bye.